Let us call the election board for December the 6th to order. Omitted from the agenda was the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from October the 4th, 2023 election board meeting. And this is a little strange in that the two people who will be members of the election board after the certification of counting, that is Sharon and John, were not members of the election board during the election process. So the minutes have been distributed. One of the two prior board members, Peter, is here, and he has had a chance to review both sets of minutes. Are they substantially in accordance with what happened during those periods of time?
Yes, sir. I move to adopt.
He can't.
I can't.
But
You could
the
recommend.
process is correct. The information that he's provided, that if he believes it's accurate, will allow the other two, if they trust what he's just said, Mr. Moyer believes they're accurate as well, you can trust the two of them, hopefully, and based on that, this current board now.
Based on my level of trust, I'll make a motion to accept the minute.
I'll second that based on my level of trust.
In the room.
Don't ask.
Don't go there. Okay, it's been moved and seconded that the minutes of the October 4th, 2023 election board be approved. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ditto for the approval of minutes of the general election from November the 7th through November 22nd. Peter, again, okay with you? And I'll move their approval.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. The appointment of a chairperson. I would move, now that I'm just a regular member of the board, I would move that Christie be appointed chairperson of the election board for the remainder of this year. That decision can be changed in January of this coming year, but for this month.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, John, but before you take over, let me go to item number 4, because I asked Sarah to put this together. I'm a numbers kind of person, so to me, this stuff is interesting. If you take a look at in your packet, you have sort of the bare bones results of what happened in the November 2023 municipal election and what happened in the November 2022 general election. And, I've had the opportunity to have it for a day or so, and there's some interesting things in it to me. That is that if you look at the number of registered voters at the top, we picked up about 1,400 registered voters over the year's period of time since the November 22 election. The Democratic percentage has, even though it's increased a bit, the percentage of overall registered voters is down about 1%. The Republicans are up about 1%. The most telling thing to me is when you get down to the 2 or 3 lines from the bottom where it says total votes. Last year during the general election, we had 59,600 voters cast their ballots for a percentage of registered voters of 54%. So over half of the people who were registered to vote actually voted. When you look at the municipal election, which was held, and the general election last year, you'll remember, had the governor and some of the state offices.
Yes.
Yes. The percentage was over half of the people came out and voted. In this year's election, only 30% came out. So there's a decided decrease in the number of voters, which is probably why, from the perspective of counting, it seemed to go somewhat easier this time. We counted in round figures 33,000 votes, whereas last year we counted close to 60,000 votes. It surprised me. It didn't have wasn't any shock to Sarah when I said, how could the number be so far? Well, it's a statewide versus a local. So,
Did she have her hand on her hip when she said that?
well, I don't know, but she had that lower lip sticking. I could sense it over the phone. But that to me is an interesting statistic, and I didn't know that the variation between the offices that were being elected would result in that big a change in the turnout. Other things, the Dropbox votes last year, about 4% of the people voted via the Dropbox. This year, about 9% voted in that fashion. In terms of mail-in votes, you'll see last year 21% total. 21% of the votes that came in came via mail-in, and this year 29%. So the mail-in voting is picking up steam, and surprisingly, it's not necessarily picking up steam on the Democratic side, where the 36% that voted that way last year, not saying it's the same 36%, but 36% of the Democrats voted that way this year. In terms of the Republicans, last year 8% voted in that fashion. This year it's 13%, so it's a pickup of 5%. But even more dramatic is the pickup in the independents, the various affiliations that are not either Republican or Democrat, went from 18% using that method of voting last year to 28% this year. So it takes a while to look at these things and determine whether you can make sense of them or not. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But I think it's interesting to sort of see the way the barometer changes, one based on the type of election it is. And I would suggest that probably next year, although unfortunately I won't be here to help with it, the turnout could be in the 60-65% range. So hitting those numbers by midnight of the election night is going to be a bit more trying. That's interesting. Also, the dynamics of mail-in voting has been with us for 3 years now, maybe 4, but it's beginning to pick up some steam or some increased attention from voters in general. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I don't have any words of wisdom. I don't have any answers to any why this, why that, but I'd be happy to try to answer any questions not of that nature that you have.
Well, I think if you looked historically for a municipal election, the 30% turnout is very good.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. It used to be like, 15. Yeah, it's more than it used to be.
I can remember in my first couple of elections being involved in them in 12 and 13. It was, if you were in the 12 to 15% total turnout range, that was about par for the course. And I think that probably mail-in voting has picked up on that substantially. Mark, you what?
Not a question for you, so you don't have to tax yourself there, but just a comment in that this past election went, I thought, extremely well. I think Sarah and her office has really gotten things under control, as opposed to the very first time when the new mail ballot stuff hit the fan, right? So I'm just want to congratulate you, John, and Peter, and Lauren, and Sarah, and everybody who. It was a good election.
Thank you for that. It falls mostly to Sarah, but I know that she has that same pit in her stomach the day before the ballots are sent out of holy cow, could anybody have been missed? And, you know, she's on the line all the time with her fellow directors that pick up little idiosyncrasies and problems. And, you know, thank heavens we made it through another one, and it's due to the diligence of the people in the office.
And Penny is the right-hand person.
Well,
Pick her up sometimes.
that too.
when she goes down.
All right, John, I don't have anything else.
Thank you. Our favorite part of the agenda, number 5, other.
I'm working on the 2024 permanent mailer to go out to the permanent voters for, the permanent mail-in. Actually, I have it done. I did send it to the printer. I'm just waiting to see a sample.
Approved.
Yes. We have about 20 Yeah. 20,746 firms go out. February 1st, they're supposed to go out, but because the primaries earlier this year, the counties are opting to send them out. I'm going to send mine out in January. I figure after the holiday mail and everything, I'm going to do them in the beginning of January.
Was that, I have a question, was there some regulations that were put in place with the colors of different?
That's for the new ballot envelopes for 2024.
That's what I thought, yeah,
I'm working on that also with my print vendor right now.
okay.
Here, by you striking 27,000, does that, I mean, if nobody else registered to vote, that would have the impact of taking our registered to vote from 111,000 to something in the 84, 85 range?
With the
With the
people,
ones that you're striking. Didn't you say you're taking 27,000?
No, those are the people that are permanent.
no, the permanents, and they don't have to vote by mail. You know, that's their option.
I'm sorry, when does the striking of people who haven't voted in,
Oh, 5 years?
yeah,
That will be in January.
so that number isn't 27,000, that's exceedingly less than that. Good thing I'm not chairman, I didn't understand that.
You know, just look
I
at.
got out right in the nick of time.
Yeah, you have me confused for a minute.
Good, then I've done my job.
We have also a hearing on the splitting of Middle Smithfield, east and west polling places to create 2 more, so they'll have 4 voting places. And Tunkhannock Township to make 2 polling places. And our hearing is December 18th. We did all the postings around the township, so that's done. And
Sarah participated in a Zoom call yesterday for Middle Smithfield Township, at their township meeting to explain what was posted.
I'm sorry, what's December 18th?
it's a hearing with the court.
Court hearing, the court has to approve the splitting of precincts.
And is that a public hearing? Public hearing?
In court.
So
you have
know
the
where that's
time?
gonna be? Or is it gonna be
It's
that-
at 1:15. I do not know what courtroom because of the construction. She put in the order a courtroom to be determined, so I don't know.
Okay.
Is there a timing of next year? I mean, probably everybody knows the primary will be held. What date?
April 23rd.
Maybe.
Department of State put out a list.
I got my dates for next year, and that's what's slated on the calendar.
Sarah, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Can you review that 27,000 permanent voters? What does that mean?
So when they can sign up to be a permanent, And then every year they'll get an application,
Or a mail-in vote, or
Mhm.
what absentee.
but they have to fill it out and return it or apply online, one of the two. You get it, so it doesn't mean, and then they do that and then they'll get automatically a ballot in the spring and then they'll automatically get one in the fall if they're a permanent. They have to apply.
And what makes you a permanent? With
You
time?
have to check a box.
Okay, so you don't have to have mail-in voted for a specific amount of times, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And you can opt to do it, you could get, Tom, you could get the application and not fill it out and still go to the polls. Like you don't have to, you just get an application every year, basically.
Thank you.
Confusing thing is when you say permanent, people interpret permanent to mean permanent, but permanent only means you get a second
year.
bite of the apple
Correct.
each year.
I know, but that's the way it's worded on every form from the state, so.
Because isn't that what we do now, each year? I mean, each year I get an application.
Correct,
So even if I'm permanent, I'm still gonna get an application.
correct.
You're permanent.
Right.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
But I do say, I thought that she did not say 27,000.
No,
I thought she
20,000.
said 20,746, just clear the record. And there's a section on the mail-in ballot application, number 7, that you can check, and you will
Right.
get the application every year, not the ballot,
Correct.
just the application.
That's correct.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything else. Polling place signs, that's something else that someone brought up to me. We have polling places where they do not allow signs, and some people have issues with that. Some put signs where they shouldn't have been this past time, where they were not allowed to have them. So that's becoming an issue.
Yeah, may I speak to that? And, I was a poll watcher at JT Lambert, and there were no Republican signs. You can see I took a picture. There's plenty of Democrat signs. Director Sylvie had told me she sent a letter to the county chair of the Republican and Democrat committees. When I called my chair and said, how come there's no Republican signs here? He said, well, we're obeying the rules. I said, well, there's a lot of Democrat signs here. He said, well, bring it up to the judge of elections. I did that. He thought, I showed him the website because I was sent the link. The judge of elections thought the website wasn't up to date. So I spoke with Sarah afterwards. And apparently, the school didn't want the signs there. Now, I see that as a violation of the First Amendment, freedom of speech. So I intend to do my best to have that rescinded. If any place agrees to have an election, I don't think they retain the prerogative to set barriers towards freedom of speech. Now, I know it's not so easy to find places to host elections, but they do get paid, right? Is there a fee the county pays to
In
them?
the school?
Yeah, wherever it is. They don't get paid?
School doesn't.
Okay, good. Well, it's public
They
property.
I'm sorry, they get paid for a cleaning person, which is $15.
Okay, very good.
Wow.
But might I ask how the commissioners feel about every polling place allowing
I don't think,
candidates?
we have had other, like churches that have where
I
polling.
have
places
11
people-
polling places that do not allow signs.
Correct. And I think that if nobody puts up a sign, then it's, I think we should honor their requests of no signs.
Well, they're renting. Are all of those places that would have sign restrictions, are they, you renting space from them? And you're renting just the polling place, you're not renting the parking lot.
Correct.
So they can tell us we can't park in their parking lot?
They
Is
tell
what
you
we're
whatever,
implying?
they tell you whatever they tell you. We don't have control over what they say or what they don't. If you as a voter or whatever, you want to take issue with whoever it is, you can do that. Part of the problem we have is just a conundrum that we can't find polling places. And,
Yeah.
and so we're sort of,
Their biggest issues are the signs are left there and they're there to deal with them.
I understand, but I don't lose my rights because someone's irresponsible or lazy.
but that's a question between you and them as to whether you have the right to put a sign on their property.
I
We don't
think the
control- we don't
Constitution
control-
determines that, not the principle of the city.
No, I mean, that's not
But
true.
if you were. but if you were-
Constitution doesn't determine it? You're telling me it's
Hold
not
on.
true?
If you're correct, but the party that would rule on that would be a court. And the people who would be the party to the litigation would be, if you wanted to be, and whoever that owns the property. It wouldn't be the county. We're not saying you can't.
It's public property.
But if you have a dispute and someone doesn't agree with you, it'll get decided by a court. You just don't go there and say, oh, the Constitution, and you get, bingo.
I didn't say that.
Right, so we don't decide it, and he's not saying
Well,
the
you
Constitution
decided
doesn't
in-
say that.
In terms
It would
of
be decided
choosing
by a
that
court.
place. So you can say, these are the conditions
Um,
that will allow you to host an election.
If you want to look at the requirements that we have for what polling places need to do to accommodate the voters, you can find other places, and you can refer them to Sarah, and she might be able to look at them. But that is not proven
So-
to be the.
So we're held over a barrel
No, you're
because
not
we
held
don't
over.
have other places, because we can hold the election right here.
I guess we
It'll
just
just
have,
be more inconvenient, but
we just have a difference of opinion. If you somehow feel that your rights are being transgressed, I would suggest that you seek recourse to the courts.
I intend to. But I thought I'd go before the Board of Elections.
They don't have the power to tell the private property owner what they must and mustn't do.
Well, it's not, yeah. it's
I'm
public-
not the court. You can talk about this to your glowing face, but if you feel aggrieved by this, you
You
should
should
Not all
speak
public
yourself.
property.
You
It's
should
public
seek-
property.
No,
JTL is not private.
not all of
property.
them are public property.
I didn't say all of them are. I said JTL in this sense.
All I'm suggesting is like anyone else, take it to the court. God bless you if you can get the recourse that you want. Wonderful.
Right, so the Board of Commissioners, the Board of Elections cannot say to these 11 places, hey, we've had some of the parties don't follow the rules. So that has brought in unfairness. They're threatening to sue us. We want to be able to
Threatening to
have
sue who?
signs.
Threatening to sue who?
The private, the places that don't allow signs, these 11 different polling
And you
places.
said we could say to them, "You're threatening to sue us. You wouldn't sue us.
No,
We're not the ones that are placing.
I'm saying the Board of Commissioners can now go to any place that hosts an election and say, these are the terms.
They can say, we don't want you.
I didn't say they can't.
Right.
Right, so all I'm
So
trying
that's why I
to
said,
get out of
find
the
us-
Board
find
of
us other places
Commissioners
where we can
is,
hold the election.
will you tell a place that, look, if you host the election, you have to allow all parties to put signs up for the candidates on the ballot that day.
No, we can't tell them that. The court would have to tell them. We can't. Not our authority.
Well, if they say we don't want it, you can say, well, we're not going to have an election.
Well, we could say that.
Right,
And then
you
where are
have
we gonna-
that
Where are we
power.
gonna hold the election?
Right in this building.
Really weird.
Everybody has to-
I already have 3 polling places in this building.
Right. Yeah.
So if
again,
it's up on the mountain, if it's
we're
up on the mountain.
We're being held over a barrel by
Down here.
school principals. We're being held over a barrel. And then one party, can anyone tell me what happened to the Democrats that violated the letter you sent out? Can anyone tell me what they suffered for breaking that rule? I don't hear anything. So what's to stop them from doing this again? Nothing. And everyone's okay with this.
We don't control the polling place.
You control the polling place by allowing them to host the
I'm
election.
gonna tell you one more time. If you feel aggrieved by this, please go to court.
I intend to.
Good.
Now I'm telling you one more time. But the silence of the Board of Commissioners speaks loudly.
I personally, if I was on the election board, I would have gotten a phone call from Sarah, and she would have said, go out and pick up those signs that the Democrats had put out in front of JTL, because they're not supposed to be there. And I have done that in the past. Okay? We follow the rules of what the polling places want. Okay? It is very, very difficult to find places within the confines of the area to hold elections. That's a problem. It has to be ADA compliant. It has to have everything that is, needed. Parking, lights, all of that. And we go through, we don't have places. We don't have places. So because you feel that you've been aggrieved, or, I find it disheartening in a way, because I have never changed my vote walking up to see a sign. Okay? I've never changed my vote when I walked in and somebody handed me a nail file. I would say thank you, but that's it. So that's just how I look at it personally. And I just think that it's, to put those restrictions on it is wrong.
And I just want to let you know, election directors across the state, it's this way across the state. Like, it's not just here in Monroe County where they're not allowing signs in certain places. It's the whole state. Because I reached out to the other
I
election.
believe it.
directors.
There's plenty of people that don't like the Constitution. They're all over the state.
You have the ability to put a sign in your yard.
Not if you're in an HOA.
Not if you're in an HOA. I can put a sign in my
Once
yard
again.
saying X, Y, Z, okay? But I cannot put that same sign in my neighbor's yard, and she doesn't want it. You guys are just working.
Thank you.
Right, but
It's
your
excess
neighbor
CO2
didn't
as well.
agree to host an election with the county. So it's a poor comparison. All I'm saying
So
is,
you're saying that it's
When-
because of
when-
the Constitution?
well, yeah, the freedom of assembly, the freedom of speech is in the Constitution. Obviously, campaign signs are part of the First
The
Amendment.
First Amendment says Congress shall make no law.
Right,
It doesn't
and
apply to private parties, and when they negotiate. with
JTL's a
parties,
private party?
They, for that purpose, sure.
No, it's never a
The other
private
thing is,
party.
in First Amendment law, there's time, place, and manner restrictions that are recognized everywhere.
Yeah, according to the legislature, which didn't seem to work in Pennsylvania in 2020, the courts decided that. We can talk about the Constitution if you
The
want.
courts are the ones who interpret the First Amendment. There's time, place, and manner restrictions. You have other ways to communicate. Sarah, the restrictions on signs don't affect people being able to hand out,
That's correct.
cards and whatnot, so you're still able to promote your candidates at the polling places.
Right, and what happened to the Democrats that violated this? Nothing. And you're fine with it. You can say it out loud. We all know.
They don't clear half of the murders in this country, so, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now we've gone to murder.
Yes, sir, in the back.
I'm hoping I can help move this along. I just want to make sure I understand correctly, at least, in the very least going forward. There are some locations that do not want candidate signs at their polling location. That's my understanding, correct? There are some locations that just don't want it.
11.
Okay, so now, let's say signs appear miraculously. I'm guessing they called the Board of Elections to complain. Or who did they reach out to?
My office.
And if I understood correctly, you would reach out to the commissioners? No? You reach
No,
out
we normally reach out to the candidate. I didn't get a call though about JCL until late.
Okay, because I'm not sure, I know you don't need more work. But right now, what's gonna end up happening, depending on what's decided or what the laws allow, what's gonna happen is people are gonna put up signs anywhere anyway and say, well, then let the consequences fall where they will. And that could create more work for you guys. Well, my concern is going forward.
No, it's gonna create me to probably lose both. Which
and-
I
and
already
that's
have
what-
a difficult
So
time
if
with.
there's any way to address it before the elections, this way you don't have that. Because now what I picture, this is what I picture happening. There was one location apparently that Democrats did put up signs, probably unknowing. Republicans were aware and didn't. But now what's gonna happen going forward, people say, well, we'll put up the signs anyway. And let it fall where it falls. It's gonna create more work and havoc for you. So if there's a way to adjust in advance, I think that would be helpful. If not, that's, in my mind, that's gonna be the result. Any place that is a polling place, whether the property owner wants it or not, it's gonna appear there.
And for those that disobey, there'll be no consequence.
So what consequences is it?
Well, I really don't know because I don't think the rule should be in place.
So you think anyone should be able to put a sign up?
I didn't say anyone, I'd say people that are on the ballot that you're about to cast a vote for.
Because some people, when they go, I just learned this year because how could you not know who you're gonna vote for? And then I was told by a few people that are candidates that there are people that don't know who they're gonna vote for. And they judge it by who's outside and who's gonna talk to them and what that person's saying. So it's very much so that if there's signage out there, people standing out there before going in to vote, it is very influential about how quite a few people vote. So it is important to have the signs out.
Ann, what would?
Oh,
put your hand
okay, okay, all right, so you say there are 11 places. Now, I know from personal experience that not all 11 enforce the rule. At Kaler Fieldhouse, there's 2 polls, both Democrats and Republicans put signs there. I don't think you got a complaint from Kaler, is that correct? And Our Lady of Victory Church has 2 polls. Both parties put signs there. I think they're on 1 or 2 of your 11. I don't think you got a complaint from them either. So some of the places who have the rule don't enforce it. And Sarah did try by sending a letter to the 2 county chairs. And it is the county chair's duty to tell whoever's in charge of putting out the signs not to put them there. I happen to have been in charge of assigning people who are going to put signs. And for spring and fall, I will draw a line through at the Smithfield 2. Smithfield 2, no signs there. The Hamilton South Church does not want signs, and they enforce it. And we don't put signs there because we know they enforce it.
Right.
So I think what you have done so far is as much as you can do. Let people know, and for the people in the party to make sure that no, they don't give signs to people who want to put them at these places.
Mr. Parker,
Yeah, the only other, it sounded like Pete went to the judge of elections, so if the judge of elections was saying incorrect information, you want to make sure you get the judge of elections to know that that place doesn't allow signs.
I have one other comment.
It's
Judge of
really not
elections,
up to the judge of elections.
Well, I'm just
Maybe not on
Just
the.
I'm just saying, if that's where Pete went and he was told that our party doesn't know the rules.
yes,
I
Ann.
have one other comment. One solution that we try to use, if someone has a truck, you can put your candidate signs on the truck and park the truck more than 10 feet away from the door. That they seem to be okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, I stand corrected. It's wise to have the judge of elections know that, so they can inform people. They're not part of the enforcement state.
Correct. Anything else? Yes.
Okay, so I spoke previously, so I'm just gonna say my First Amendment is represented at the ballot box, which is again why I feel so passionate about having election integrity. On the website that is out there regarding the elections and registration, on your guys' website, okay, it says programming and maintenance of election machines. So when you look up the definition of programming, a set of related measures or activities with a particular long-term aim. Similar words, scheme, plan of action, initiative, series of measures. These are the machines again. This is where I have my issue because they are programmable. And I know, again, people don't want to hear that, but that's not my concern. It's a fact, and there's many, many lawsuits out there proving that. I also have an issue. I know you spoke about numbers and percentages pertaining to the mail-in ballots and all of that. So right here, I have, this is a printout. It's a list, two-sided, from all the suits and situations that people had been convicted pertaining to election fraud. So these are all convictions on both sides. This is not just cases that were brought forth. They're actual convictions proving that election fraud is taking place. And a big part of that can be those mail-in absentee ballots. A judge overturned, I'm sure you heard about this one, in Bridgeport, Connecticut. He basically, pertaining to the absentee ballots, just overturned that election because, as he said, the election was so fraudulent that he couldn't go through with that. It had to be overturned. So there's definitely proof out there. Again, I'm not saying you were a part of that. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, please don't turn away and just disregard what we're saying, because we're not here to make your life more difficult. We're not here to be a thorn in your side. We're here because we're begging for secure elections. You know, I get convenience, mail ballots, whatever. That might be convenient for a lot of people. But if you have the ability to get up and go out, and we do a better job at maybe creating the polling stations we need, I'll be the first to volunteer. I'll go and work those. But if we create a system that works, that also creates a secure election system that people have faith in, that's going to be huge. But just saying machines and this is the best way to go, or mailing out ballots that aren't secure because there's too much fraud going on, is very concerning because of convenience. I'd rather know that the people in control of our country are truly the elected people in there because of we the people, not because of an election
I
outcome.
understand, and we have talked about this for a very long time, about how the system has checks and balances is in place, okay? Shana, I see you in March, so you don't have to keep your hands up. So our elections are safe, they are secure, and they are legitimate, okay? We have tests that we do, okay, for accuracy. We make sure that everything is in place and working. And you mentioned earlier to go back away from machines. Well, then it's in the hands of a human being that can.
Which I trust more so.
Well,
when you have a group of people from all sides.
We do. We have a group of people that come in here and you can observe.
With a printout from a machine.
Well, you can observe the whole process.
But if there's algorithms within the machine, you
There's no
don't see that.
algorithms within the machine.
Okay.
Okay.
So that concerns me because you're basically telling me
All we're doing
that
is
doesn't
it's a
exist, which
scanner.
means your head is in
We're
the
just
scan.
no, it's just a scanner. We're just taking a scan.
But scanners can also be skewed. That's what I'm saying.
That's why we have testing beforehand.
Okay.
Northampton County, they flipped yes and no
Excuse me.
votes just
Excuse me.
recently.
Mark's turn.
I've been waiting quite a while. You had lots to talk about. Is there any way that we could possibly schedule a town hall or something, maybe at the library or somewhere else, where we can have maybe you and Sarah demonstrate how these machines work so that people can actually see all the security that you're constantly, at every meeting, I've heard you go through from when the ballots are sent out to when they're received. You go through the whole process. So maybe it will save you from, in the future, having to answer these exact same questions that some people just won't let go of.
I suggest that what you do, how long do we keep the tapes? And particularly how long do we have? Dave, the office from the election board meeting?
Yes.
I've been here way too long. So because of that, I'm gonna leave at the end of this year. As the solicitor for the election board for 13 and 23, what's that, 36 years? It's just, these questions have been going for 8 years now. And you folks have been answering these questions for 8 years.
Exactly.
And you have given the floor to everybody who has a point of view one way or the other on this issue. And you've answered all their questions. But then somebody else comes in that hasn't been at these meetings before, and they ask the same questions. You have to go through the same thing. And human nature is such that you get a little bit tired, when that happens. But I give the board, credit for all these years of answering these questions over and over and over again. But you might want to think about, like this young lady, I don't think I've seen her here.
Well, I work, so typically I can't be here.
I'm not
because of the time frame.
criticizing you.
Yeah.
But if you make the tapes available, and they can sit and they can listen to these tapes. So that the people that have heard this for 8 years now or more and given answers to this, and we've had technical people in here like Trish Clancy, the head of IT, and they've given answers. And I understand there's when people get answers, they might not like the answers, but you folks have done your best to give answers to all of these questions. And they just keep coming and coming and coming. And nothing has changed because you've conducted the elections in open. As long as all of you have been on the election board and as long as I've been counseling the election board, it's all been an open process. And these questions get answered all the time and they keep coming back. And there's no proof. There's no proof. There's no proof in our county, nor in as far as I know, I think have to be corrected, but in none of the federal district courts in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has there been proof of any of this. And we're a nation of laws. And well, maybe you don't like the laws, maybe you don't like the courts, but the courts, the judges get appointed by Republicans, by Democrats. It's a mishmash of everything. And there's just nothing that has shown that there's been any fraud with respect to the system that has been used. These questions have been answered, and you have to sit and hear this over and over again. And you're public servants, so you do your job. But maybe there's a better way to let these folks that haven't heard all this for 8 years now to listen to the tapes so they can hear what's going on. Because this is my last election board meeting. I'll tell you. I know a lot of people are really happy about that. And that's, yeah, I appreciate your thoughts. But let me tell you, despite your thoughts, all the people that I've worked for, Republicans and Democrats, for 35 years, have made this an open process, have done the best that they can do. And there are many people that have come here and questioned the elections in the last 8 years with some of the same questions that we're hearing now. And some of them finally came forward and said to this board, congratulations, you've answered all our questions and you've done a good job. And they have. And, so again, I would offer to you a suggestion that these people want to hear the tapes, of all the efforts you've undertaken and the answers that you've given to people, that they let them listen to the tapes.
I agree. That doesn't give me an answer.
Can I have a follow-up to my?
No, you don't like the answers.
No, it's not given.
If you had something, like I said, where you could actually go through, show the equipment, show how it works, show all the checks and balances, and if you videoed that, then when these questions come up again, you could just refer them to the video on the website rather than having to take up all this time going over everybody's fears of, they're losing because it's rigged, and when in fact we know it's not rigged. It may be rigged in the future, assuming how the next election turns out with the lunatic, but right
the
now.
Republican wins, it's always hard to win off.
Wait, I thought it wasn't rigged.
Hold on a second, please.
Just getting tired of
Yes,
hearing
sir.
the same stuff
In the back.
over and over.
It's not new to these meetings, but I just want to say to follow up with what you were saying. We appreciate the board answering the questions. We realize you guys have a lot on your schedule, your time is valuable, but the people who also take the time to attend these meetings, their time is just as valuable.
No,
I
we
understand what you're
understand that.
saying.
That's why we give you the floor.
Oh, no, and I appreciate it, it's why I keep coming. I do, because my questions get answered, and I'm happy with that. But what I just want to stress that you mentioned that you have your position here solicited by something like 36 years? Okay. And that was with the Board of Elections?
Yep, as the county solicitor and the Board of Elections.
Okay, so the only then the comment I want to have with that, with those who have long careers, some of the people attending these meetings may not have even been born when your career started. And I'm thankful when younger people start attending meetings and trying to get information directly from the source as compared to trying to figure out what's real on the internet, what's fake. And sometimes it's not always easy to navigate for some individuals. Yes, you go to the official site, I get all that. But once again, questions being repeated is gonna happen. And I feel for you guys because it can get frustrating after a while when you answer the same thing meeting after meeting. But it is gonna be part of the job. People taking the time to come to hear, to get questions answered from the source is very important. And you guys have encouraged that. I've never not been recognized during a meeting to ask a question, no matter what my question was. And I appreciate that opportunity. But and I'm just one person. Now you've got 30 people here, whatever. That's a lot of questions. It's gonna happen.
Lisa, do you still have?
What
Yeah,
I'm suggesting is sometimes you get turnover in the board. Questions have been asked and other people on the board and they've been answered. So if somebody wants to avail themselves of the library that we have, of all these questions haven't been asked, because not every one of those 3 individuals sitting up there may remember every question that's been asked. And so if they avail themselves of this, they may find answers to questions that they have, and they may find the same questions have been asked by other folks that are sympathetic to them. And they would see how it was answered. And to rely on them all the time to remember exactly the answer they gave, it's somewhat difficult. We're all human. But they try the best they can. I must say I'm happy to observe all the Republicans, all the Democrats, and all the people that have tried very hard. And there's never been a ruling, as far as I know, by our court, that any one of these folks did anything wrong or did anything other than what was.
Miss Louisa.
I just want to say, since you're new, I want it on the record. I've been observing polls and poll greeters since 2002. I retired 1 year ago in January, and I've never seen anyone complain or witnessed, and I've been at many polls, of voter fraud or any of that stuff. The main thing that I've seen is more people end up at the wrong poll, or they didn't know, they didn't answer the letter that went out on purging, and they have to vote provisional or something like that. Whenever there's been a problem, I've called the commissioners. They've handled it immediately. The voter has never said to me, no one helped me, and no one, I've seen some people that stand too close. I've confronted them, I've reported them, and then nothing's been done about that, and they're the opposite party also. So I don't want you to think what's being done to the Democrats, nothing's being done, because those things have happened over the years, probably because the people who were at fault didn't know or were a little eager or whatever, but it's not just one-sided. Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
So I'll admit, I want to go back to paper ballots, but this is an action about machines, which I don't approve because to me it's not an open process because we don't know what's in the machine. We can't open the machine because otherwise we lose a contract with the vendors. So we have the vendors and we have third parties that have their parts inside the computers that we can't open up and look at, so it's not an open process. But moving on from there is, so this is from Spotlight PA, which is, they say they're non-bipartisan news organization covering local election administration. So this is from August 18th, which 2023. And in the article, they were hoping that it would already happen for this November's municipal election, but it did not, apparently. So it says, thanks to a new settlement between Pennsylvania and a coalition of election security groups, Nobody's saying fraud, everybody's just saying security. The Commonwealth's Department, although I do believe there's fraud, the Commonwealth's Department of State will require counties to publicly report voting machine malfunctions. Counties are still waiting details on that program, which begins this November, which apparently did not. This November's municipal election. Experts say reports could be first of their kind and could also present a unique opportunity to improve efficiency while combating the kind of election misinformation that comes in routine recent cycles. So it's not saying, we're not saying that everything is always related to fraud and it's intentional, but what we are saying is that machines make mistakes. And when machines make mistakes, it could be in the thousands or tens of thousands. Whereas when a person makes a mistake, it's not in the tens of thousands or the thousands. And also when people count with paper ballots, you have a check. You check each other, and it's an open room. And there could be cameras all over the place so we know nobody's cheating and stashing ballots somewhere else. On another note is going back to drop boxes. There's too many drop boxes in our county. We don't know how many people are putting how many ballots in at a time. So my main concern is vulnerable voters, such as people that are seniors. So I pulled up the Monroe County Agency on Aging. They don't help with elections. The election office doesn't help with elections, and they don't have to because it's not in the law. So how do we know when people are going to, say, a nursing home and they're helping people with their ballots, that they're not scooping up those ballots and taking them to a drop box? There's way too many drop boxes in our county, and many of us believe they should only be here at the administration building. And if people don't like that, well, they've been putting their ballots in the United States Post Office, which we don't have much faith in either. But if we have the post office and drop boxes, there's a lot of fraud that can be going on out there. And as I said, my main concern is for the vulnerable voters, which are the seniors.
I really want to speak to this. I worked in long-term care in the community for about 33 years, assisted living, personal care. Dot Kaufman was the former Area Agency on Aging director. She was at Luco Lodge before she died, and she contacted me because she requested, so first for the Trump-Biden election, we organized with Recreation Department, 40 of the residents, 20 of them registered to vote. About 10 of them as Democrats, probably about 10 as Republicans. They voted. I don't know how they voted, they voted. The following year, Doc Kaufman, my good friend that I worked with for many years, contacts me and says she did not receive her ballot and did not vote. When I contacted Sharon, our commissioner, what we decided to do was Sharon and I drove out there, gave her a ballot, and she filled it in, and Sharon took it back here. Dot had 2 strokes that affected her writing, but it did not affect her mind. She filled it out on her own, and she said that Luco Lodge told her she could not vote. They could not help her register to vote or to help her get a ballot or anything because they were all incompetent. Somebody turned them in that they were incompetent. Since that election, I have been writing to the AARP, the voter protection, the governor, I'm telling you, for a couple years. The election where Dot voted for her last election, the only way I can remember it is Patrick Best was running for district magistrate, and that was the election that he lost by 3 votes, and she voted for him. That's what she told me. So I checked after that. I recently checked like a year or so ago. I think 4 people were registered the county nursing home, something like that. I checked, I had the figures, at Brookmont, maybe there were 18. Whitestone, there were maybe 8. I checked, I went to League of Women Voters, and we went and we did voter outreach. Ann was with us at the senior centers, but that isn't where the problem is. I worked in long-term care. They're not asked when they come in, do you want to vote? Do you want a ballot? That's not in the packet. If you ask, I am for the seniors. I am a senior myself. And by darn, seniors vote, but they're not voting. I don't want you to take away their rights more. Fraud isn't going on in those places. Maybe fraud that they're not given the chance to vote. But we have got to protect this. So I disagree with you wholeheartedly.
My point was the drop off and people helping.
You brought up long-term care, and you brought up that,
Long-term care.
well,
It's about seniors
seniors,
getting
okay.
help. It's about seniors getting help doing the ballots and making sure the ballots get to the right
Well,
place.
they're not getting help in these facilities and
I
in assisted
understand that
living
too,
in
but that's
person.
not what I was addressing.
I thought that's what you were
No,
addressing.
that's not.
Okay, but,
Jane.
Jane,
Yes, thank you. I want to know how many of those fraudulent things have happened in Monroe County. You have a list of that?
Really?
Hello?
Are you
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
That's called proof.
You continue to say fraudulent. You continue to accuse.
I read the newspaper
Excuse me,
article.
ma'am.
I
I'm
read the
speaking.
newspaper
I'm
article.
speaking. I didn't speak when you were speaking, so I have the floor now. Thank you. You continue to insinuate that there is fraud in our county, yet we've never seen the proof. You've never provided anything in regard to proof of that. And I'm asking you, how many of those fraudulent cases happened here in our county? Let's start there.
I actually have sent an email to the commissioners.
No, I'm not asking you that. I'm
And it has
asking
to
you for
do
the
with-
proof. Where is the proof?
You
I
know
want a
what?
number.
You know what? I do not
Okay.
have the answer to you.
Okay, but you're
Okay,
making
okay.
accusations to me
Okay,
as a
that's
voter.
enough. That is enough. We're not, I'm gonna call the meeting and to ask for a motion here. We cannot talk civilly to one another and look, you think there's fraud? I don't think there's fraud. We can discuss this forever, okay? All we do is go back and forth, back and forth. We have taken every step to make sure that this is a safe, secure election. We always have. It is I've said this is one of our biggest responsibilities as commissioners to be on the election, okay? We take that very seriously. We go above and beyond. So there are checks and balances in the system. There's no fraud here, okay? Anything else for the good of the order?
I'll be brief, John, if I could. Did I hear you say that you and the Commissioner Lavenger brought somebody's vote into a Dropbox? Is that legal? I didn't think.
No, they did
people-
not say a Dropbox. They brought it in. And there is a form that you can fill out if you have assisted somebody with bringing a ballot in. You have to bring the ballot and the form in at the same time and give them to the elections office.
That makes more sense. I wouldn't assume Commissioner Lavenger would knowingly break the law.
It's printed on the outside of the ballot envelope.
I was just asking for clarification.
Yeah.
The last thing, we see a lot of mail-in ballots here, and so far as I remember, mail-in balloting came about because of COVID, which is no longer a crisis.
No, it's even before COVID.
Okay, just in the general sense, that really was the engine driving it in the last 3 years. In the last 3 years. So
2019.
who handles the mail?
What do you mean who handles the mail?
Post office, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And does post office endorse candidates?
No.
They do. They endorsed by
Well, look.
the United States Postal Union. So
That's a
just,
union.
can the Democrats
That's a
tell me,
union.
can the Democrats tell me they'd be happy with a Republican organization, an organization that endorses Republicans physically handling their votes? Go ahead, say yes. I didn't think you
What
would.
was the joy?
I'm all done, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Moyer.
Yeah.
Move we adjourn.
It's still
We are.
my-
Not